Hey everyone, it's Flak. I've had a good deal of hands-on time with early builds of content coming with Battlefield 1's final DLC, Apocalypse. The expansion has promise, but I think it's got a few issues DICE can address before the DLC's launch next month. Like most of you, I want the add-on to be the best it can be, so sometimes that means being a bit critical. I'd like to talk about the game's new airplanes-only mode. Now, I'm not exactly the world's best pilot, but I do feel like there's room for improvement here. DICE actually appears to be testing a couple different aerial game modes for Apocalypse. On the Razor's Edge map, players dogfight each other in your traditional air superiority game mode. It's essentially team deathmatch in the skies above an impressive mountain range. Inherently, this means the only objective is shooting down enemy planes, making it difficult for novice pilots to have any kind of positive impact for their team. The last time we saw air superiority was in Battlefield 4, where players fought over objectives while engaging each other. This provided opportunities for inexperienced pilots to contribute to their team without actually having to shoot down planes. The gameplay on Razor's Edge simply consists of making a beeline for the nearest enemy and trying to shoot them down first. This turns novice pilots into meat for the grinder, and there's no real way to score points without downing enemies. And you might say, well, this is air superiority, that's the point of the game. But this team play aspect is important when introducing a new mode, and especially vital to ensuring such games remain populated. In core Battlefield 1, players can capture objectives, resupply teammates, or revive them. What I love about the game is that you don't have to have the most kills to be on top of the leaderboard. I mentioned earlier I'm a terrible pilot, and after a couple games of air superiority, I didn't really have any interest in continuing to play the game mode further. Dozens of players flying around crashing into each other also made it a frustrating experience. I had several instances where I'd line up a player for a perfect shot only to get prop rammed by a teammate. The map itself could also use some work to reward more tactical gameplay. It's very difficult to break the line of sight on Razor's Edge because the map is so open. DICE can remedy this with smoke plumes, clouds, barrage balloons, or even airships as objectives. Barrage balloons in particular would be a cool addition, since they were intended to clip plane wings. They also explode in Battlefield 1, which means they could actually be used offensively by a creative pilot. I'd also like to see more high-risk reward opportunities like you would see from flying under the rock bridge on Sinai Desert. The other aerial game modes in Apocalypse are thankfully more tactical. On the map London Calling, Scourge is split into 2 rounds. In the first round, the Germans guard their Zeppelin from British attack. In the second, the British defend their airship from German attack. Players score points by downing enemy planes, and attackers can also gain points by damaging the enemy airship. At the end of the 2 rounds, the points are totaled to determine a winner. It's a fun experience, even for novice pilots, but you can literally spend an entire game attacking the airship objective without gaining any points, and that needs to change. Attacking the objective should always reward points, and frankly, it should be a lot of them. It was frustrating to play the objective an entire game and not earn a single point. This has to do with how damage is counted against the airship. You don't get points for dealing individual amounts of damage like you would in vanilla Battlefield 1. You only get points if you are the one to break a part of it, and it doesn't exactly make me want to play the game mode. However, there is another reason I do actually enjoy Scourge. Defending players don't always have to be pilots. They can take positions inside the airship and guard it with AA guns. To me, it was a welcome change to being shot down in an airplane. The last game mode is called Raid, which is also set on London Calling. In this mode, it's all-out aerial warfare, complete with an airship behemoth for each side, the C-class airship, and the entire broad range of aircraft available in Battlefield 1. Like Scourge, players earn points by downing aircraft and damaging the enemy behemoth. Again, with both Scourge and Raid, I'd like to see opportunities for more tactical gameplay. Thick clouds or barrage balloons would go a long way in this regard. I'd also be excited to play a hardcore version of Apocalypse's air assault modes. Forcing players to stick to a first-person view and increased vehicle damage would offer a more realistic experience and a higher skill ceiling for those seasoned pilots. Now, I've been a bit critical of Air Assault so far, but I think it's important to recognize DICE is at least trying to give Air Assault longevity by creating a few different modes. I had expected just one mode similar to what we had in Battlefield 4, so the developers are at least trying to bring a new experience to players. I don't know how much I'll actually play the air maps in Battlefield 1's next DLC, which makes me sad we're only getting 3 maps for those who'd rather keep their boots on the ground. Unlike Battlefield 4's version of air superiority, 2 of the maps featured in Apocalypse are only for air assault. This makes 3 ground maps seem a little bit underwhelming. Frankly, I'm a bit surprised DICE went this route, since it means some people will only play about half the expansion. It never feels good as a consumer, paying for things you won't use, and I know from the comments on some of the videos that a lot of you feel similarly. As an infantry player, Apocalypse just feels a little bit incomplete. Of course, everything is still under development and we don't see the big picture, so a lot can change between now and when the DLC comes out in February. Personally, I'd rather see another ground map instead of air assault, but I am a terrible pilot and thus a bit biased. It'd also be nice to see more weapons, like those I had mentioned in previous videos. Still, air assault might have a nice effect on the gameplay in Battlefield 1. There might be less pilots bothering us infantry players. On the topic of Apocalypse's ground maps, I've really enjoyed my time with Passchendaele, the Somme, and Caporetto. Passchendaele in particular is fast becoming one of my favorite maps. I've read some comments about the map looking a little bit bland, but it's easy to say that with a white-boxed environment. I think the Apocalypse maps will look tragically gorgeous once final textures have been added. All you need to do to see that is just look at the concept art for the DLC. It looks fantastic. But going back to the topic of air assault, I'm curious to hear what you think about that game mode being added with Battlefield 1's Apocalypse DLC. Is it what you wanted? And what would you rather see instead? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Also be sure to check out my pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch as well. I'm doing quite a bit more streaming on there, so do check that out, twitch.tv/FlakFire. To take your Battlefield 1 game to the next level, check out the Battlefield 1 Ultimate Utility app with a link in the video description. And as always, thanks for watching.